Hello, my name is Cynthia. Welcome to my Flosstube channel. If you love beautiful needlework, you like to talk about it, see examples of it, and most importantly, be inspired to create your own beautiful creations, you're in the right place. Welcome to my channel, Stitching in the Light. If you are a returning subscriber or a new viewer, I thank you for stopping by to see what I've been up to. I have a lot of crafty projects and stitching that I've done over the last month that I wanted to share with you. I also have a couple of previous finishes and vintage things I want to share, and a box for my next capsule of cross stitch plans that I might share in a different video. It might be like a Flosstube number 20 part 2, just in case you're not interested in seeing a bunch of haul, and not a bunch of haul, but a little bit of haul and basically a collection of sunflower and bee patterns. I did post a couple weeks ago. I wanted to thank y'all on my home tour. If you have not seen that, I will link it in the description. I had a very gracious response to that and a lot of comments and kind words, so thank you if you stopped by. And I won't be filming. I had a question or a comment that they were excited to see my sunflower and bee tour. I probably won't be filming a whole video about that, but I'll try to put at the end of videos things that I've been up to as far as decor. I get a lot of good response about decorating, and some of the most views on my channel come to those videos, so I'll be continuing to decorate, but it won't be a dedicated video. I had, as I said, a couple of vintage items I wanted to share. Actually, one vintage item and one previous finish. Let me start with the previous finish because it's on top. This makes me a little melancholy because it reminds me of our trip last summer to the beach, and we had intended to go back to Disney World this summer, and of course that didn't work out, but this is a good memory. These fobs from Beth Twist with Heartstring samplery were so much fun to stitch. I actually did them in the car. You can see the 19/1, and I'm not sure how I managed it while I was driving, or while my husband was driving, but I'm glad that I did. And then there's a little strawberry for my youngest daughter here with her initial A, and there are about 4 more patterns in this. There was like a crab and a couple of fish. There's a little whale, and I used an old spool of thread, just plastic, but I glued it and sealed the seam there, and then ran some ribbon or some twine through the top and tied a knot and glued it so that it kind of looks like a tassel. And I was hanging these on a little knob of a hutch, but I've been displaying them inside of this jar full of shells that we collected, and a little bit of sand down there too, on the Florida white sand beaches. So that was a fun finish. That's a good memory, and even more special now as we did not get to do our trip as planned. And that's some wool felt on the back of that one, I forgot to say. It's kind of chunky, and on the strawberry leaves, but it turned out really cute. So those heartstring fobs are super gratifying because they're quick and they turn out so cute. She did a good job with those. The other finish has to do with a little bit of stitchy kindness. I have several things to share with that as well. My friend Judy is moving to Florida, and brought by a bunch of cross stitch magazines that she had found in her closet, I guess, as they were packing. And she happened to bring by a whole bunch of cross stitch country craft magazines. This was the episode or the issue that was most interesting to me, and I'll tell you why. I had a viewer explain to me, and now I've lost her name. Oh, I'll insert her name here, that my grandmother's 12 Days of Christmas piece came from that magazine. And I actually prefer the way my grandma finished it. I'm grateful to her that it was a wall hanging instead of individual pieces. I'll show you why in a minute. But she did this probably back in 1989, 1990. I don't really remember her stitching it. I would have been in the home still. I was still in high school, but she took a lot of time doing that, you can tell. a lot of people love the 12 Days of Christmas, and I thought of this because of Jolly July and Christmas in July, all the Christmas things that people are stitching. This was something I brought out. And I also was reminded of it because here it is in the magazine my friend Judy brought me, which was so cool because I had never thought to see the pattern, and I never would have known it was in here without that friend on Instagram letting me know. So I much prefer my grandmother's finish. I do want to get some hanging hardware for this Christmas, and I'll display it. And I don't feel the need to do a big Advent piece because I already have one. So thank you, Grandma, for that. And the other section I'm going to show is some whips that I've been working on. So let me get those together. Okay, I'm back. I said I was going to show you some whips, but I actually forgot a previous finish, and I'm going to show you some finishes first. So got that out of order a little bit. The previous finish I wanted to show you is behind me here. I've had comments on it in different videos that people see it. It is in my a video that's dedicated to showing it close up. If you had any questions, I did make some alterations, particularly with the cats, as you can see in the back there. And it is not stretched yet. I've just had it propped in that frame that I got from Goodwill and stained over. But I have that on my list to do this summer, so I might be showing it one more time. But it lives usually down by my master bedroom, and I've had it up here as a kind of reminder, you've got to get this finished. So I love the way that turned out. It's Barbara Anna's Love Never Fails, and it's a download pattern. On 28 count, it's really large, but on 36 or 32, it would be much smaller. And it was one of my first pieces that I attempted, so it took me forever, but it is a beautiful piece, and I'm glad to have it. My anniversary is coming up, so it was on my mind. And then I have a couple more whips that I've been working on for as long as that one, if not longer. No, not longer, almost. This was January 2019's start, so 18 months I've been working on Ren Hollow. And I finally finished, now just upside down, finally finished block 4. I was showing you this last time as a possible, not give up, but cut in half. And I do appreciate some of the feedback I got. One viewer had said that her piece took her 11 years and she's so proud that she finished it. So it did kind of spur me on. And also just the thread a day. I worked 1 thread a day on this. Which if you think about it, that's 30 threads in a month. That will make some big impact. I've already started below. I didn't have this block marked out because I was just trying to see my fabric size. That's the bottom. And so I'm going down as a way to kind of seal the deal that I am finishing this. I can't back out now. If I did block 5, I might feel tempted to, you know, cut it off and keep going. But now I'm going to do block 7. And it's not a real hard block. It doesn't look like there's like a half section here and a lot of words again. So I am continuing on 1 thread a day, and I appreciate your feedback on that project. It is really pretty. It's 36 count country mocha, vintage country mocha, and it is 2/2. So really bulky, but really vibrant, which works really well, I think, for these Ren Hollows. I might do another one someday, but not for a long time after this one, I think. The other finish I wanted to show is more of a sewing project. I showed this fabric in my last video from, and I've forgotten the name of the place again, something Stitch Brew Stitchery, something with my name. I should remember it better, but I don't. And so I had said I wanted to attempt a project bag, and this is an envelope style. I intended it to be about the size of a, oh, I don't have one as an example, but like almost like a magazine size. Like I wanted it to fit, and it almost does. I wanted it to fit a bigger project. I haven't tried to put one in there yet, but as I stitched it, I think I was forgetting how much you lose when you do your seams. And these are little seams, they're only 1/4 inch. But it did get smaller as I stitched it. And it's a little bit crooked when I, photographed it for Instagram. I had it on the table and I was like, oh, it's not level on the bottom. but it will still hold a project. And I love this fabric. It's such a pretty chalkboard bee fabric. It was the last one they had. I got it on clearance. I got a half yard of it, so I'm not ready to, I wouldn't sell these, I don't think, because I don't have time for that, but I'm not ready to do a giveaway either. I'd hoped to, but this turned out really wonky, so I'm still working on it, and we'll see. I love the antique button at the top there with some seam ribbon I had, and then some lace that I dipped in tea and coffee. So I thought it turned out so pretty, and I will be making a few more of those. That's going to go along with my bee capsule. I'm sort of curating a box. You know how people get like the FabFitFun box, or I do think there are some cross stitch collections that people get that are like $100 and they're full of all these glorious things, and I just would feel bad doing that in a lump sum, so I'm doing it a little at a time, and curating things that I want to stitch that have to do with bees and sunflowers. And I have a giveaway that is associated with this that I'll share with you at the end for my 2,000 subscriber, kind of passing that mark. I appreciate all of y'all's support. So I did have a bee gift at the end, but it's not going to be a project bag yet, but still I really like it, and I was proud of myself for following through and getting it done. It has the fleece that's kind of sewn in, but it's not the same size as the pattern that Vonna does. The other finish I had was from another, or from a Flosstube friend, Lindy Stitches. Stephanie Webb put out a stitch along for, let's see, she's calling it Diversity Matters Sal, and it's a free pattern that you get through her newsletter. I had someone on my Instagram ask me how to get this. They didn't receive their newsletter, and Stephanie Webb did put instructions on how to do that. So it's on my Instagram, and I always leave that linked in my description box if you want to go over there. It explains how to get it, but it's a little girl, and I'm pretty sure I know what she's writing. I think she's a writer, and I think Emily C called it, because I saw this image on her Instagram, and I won't spoil it for those of you that are still wanting to guess or try, but I found this background fabric, and it's going to make the cutest little pillow. This was a piece of vintage smoke linen, just a little square that I over dyed with blue. It was supposed to be another project, but it didn't work out, but it's perfect for this one. And then with that purpley blue or purpley gray fabric on the back, I think it's going to be so pretty. And it has some green trim, which is kind of a hint about what this little girl is writing when it's done. I think it's going to be so cute. So I will be working on that every Friday. It's a 3-week stitch along, and I will continue to post that on Instagram if you want to see how that turns out. So that was a tiny little finish. I think it took me a little over an hour to stitch up that little girl, and I used this beautiful sparkling berry from Victorian Motto sampler. I didn't realize it was as variegated as it was, but as I was stitching, I noticed it has some really pretty movement in it. It almost looks kind of darker here than it really is. It's more of a mauvey purpley pink, but it's really pretty. So that was a fun project. I sort of replaced my Snowflower Diary pillow that I was going to make with that project because it was more timely. So that is all I have finished, I'm pretty sure. Yes, I haven't left anything off, but let me go on into the works in progress that I've done this month. I'm just going to pull from the pile. This isn't any particular order, but the first project, I wanted to kind of do some pre-stitching for the Lizzie Kate Halloween Rules. This is a free pattern that's on her website for Lizzie Kate, and it basically ties together the rules that I swapped with a stitching friend. Thank you, Trinka, again. And so I wanted to get that top part done before I start really doing the rotation of trying to do one block a month. So I think I would have had this done, but for a counting error that was pretty huge. I had the tombstone in, I had this whole arch in, I had a pumpkin at the top, and I hope that's fading out. It almost stained where that dyed orange was, and I had to rip it all out. So I had missed one of the legs of this arch, and so it was way down here, and as I was putting in my lettering, I was like, whoa, that's right on top, and I should have space. And so it all came out. It took me longer tear it out than it did to stitch it. But I got started and I am loving this fabric for it. I think it's going to be really pretty. So that is some pre-stitching I did. I didn't get as far as I wanted because of that error, but that's okay. And I had put off making a video partially because I really thought I could get this finished before time to film, and I don't know what my deal is, but it's just taking me forever. I've just been sort of slow on this one, but I'm almost done with Patriotic Poppies, and I love the way it's turning out. I substituted, most people's sheet is white that I've seen do this, but because I was doing it on a light gray fabric, I didn't think it would show up very well. And I have a really pretty, I don't have it with me, it's on my Instagram, the picture. I have a really pretty variegated gray from Hand Dyed by Rolanda, and so I've used that so many times. I need to get more of it, in fact. I use that, and then this is the over dyed Victorian Motto that was a little too bright. I baked it in the oven when I over dyed it, and I'm okay with this. Not everybody would be, but I don't know if you can tell, like right around here, there are some scorch marks on the thread. But I thought, you know, this is a cart. It's on top of grass. It probably wouldn't be perfectly, you know, symmetrical with the color or perfectly one color. So it kind of has some grunge to it, but it's not super noticeable. And I think it actually is pretty close to the pattern called for, which I can't remember if it's like dolphin or it's a little bit brighter, but I felt like it was close enough. And I do have pieces of, I don't have them right here with me, but I have pieces of full wool felt and dyed corduroy that I'm going to intersperse here and tie in. So hopefully next video I'll show you this up on the tray that I have that has my sheep pullers. I have Welcome Spring and this one, and then I have the Boo Ba, which is like the same design except with a pumpkin, and I'll be working on that soon. So hopefully that'll be done soon, but it wasn't quite finished. I tried to complete a challenge with Cheryl McKinney's group. I pulled out tomato season. There was a theme of picnic, so things that were like outdoor sales and garden, things that you would eat at a picnic, and it was helpful, but what I did was try to add it to what I was already doing and it was too much, so I didn't complete the full challenge, but it did make me, or it did encourage me to pull out some old whips. And this tomato is enormous. I have a 10-yard skein of tomato from GAST, and it's not going to be enough. I was talking with my stitching group and they're like, no, you need more. So I'm going to do another 10-yard skein, and then I had started on the vine over there, but I use this when I'm on Zoom meetings a lot of times. It's really good mindless fill-in. If I had hindsight 2020, I would be doing this in punch needle, not in stitching. I feel like it would have been much more appropriate for that kind of craft, but that's okay. I still think it's going to turn out really cute, and I still really like the project. I also pulled out my long Dog Sow from the 29th. That was just the day before yesterday, and I am matching these colors on the printout. If you go online and Google, or if you pull the threads for this, they're much brighter, and it almost has like a tropically teal and pink, like a fuchsia watermelon pink, and that's not really my decorating style, so I'm just kind of matching it with Victorian Mottos and with DMC, and that's upside down. And I explained in my last video that I had to rip out the entire bottom portion, but now that I have it back on track, I did that upper part. I wanted to do the black fill-in, but I had a lot of stuff going on with family, and I was trying to stick to the long dog. It's on the 29th. I can't ever get up on my projects if I keep carrying things over, and so I said, nope, just put it up. It'll be something to look forward to. The black fill-in is a lot of fun to me because it really makes those motifs pop. And this woodpecker, this is a woodpecker prince fairy tale story that this is based on, is a kind of leafy green, and the one below it was supposed to be a darker leafy green, And so I used the color, I don't know if you can see on that leaf, of that woodpecker on the bottom on the leaves, and I was like, whoa, 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 that's not gonna work. So I'll leave that woodpecker teal. I like that color, but I can't use the leaves the same color. So I had to make some adjustments. That's one of the tricky parts about doing a conversion. Sometimes it works and sometimes you have to reevaluate, but I love the way it's turning out, and I'm almost finished with a page. It's only 4 pages, so it has like some over here it has a butterfly and a little bird. It's really pretty small, especially for a long dog, but I'm gonna keep going with that long dog. I'm not gonna start Pandemic. That's kind of something you have to repeat to yourself. Stay strong, finish this long dog before you start another. And if I have time before the leap year, which I hopefully will, Sal is over, I'll just start on Pandemic, which is part of my haul from later. The other thing that I worked on was the potting shed. I'm doing a lot of Brenda Gervais pieces always. And I like this one. My last name used to be Herbal when I was my maiden name. So people called me Herbs sometimes. Not my favorite nickname, but I do like this piece. And it has some bees and another sheep. And so this part I did get quite a bit done on for Cheryl's challenge. It really inspired me to keep going. This was over 500 stitches. And it's both smaller and bigger than I realized. It still has quite a bit of work to go on it because it needs to have a lot of little pots and kind of not difficult, but just a lot of detail. And that sign is going to be a lot of fill in, but I love the way she turned out. She has a top knot like me, so I hope my rear's not that big, but that's okay. She's cute. So I love this piece, and I don't know exactly how I'm going to finish it. I don't think I'm going to do a pillow because it's a little big to me for a pillow, but I have a black like chalkboard tile that I might hang it on. It's kind of a slate color, and I might put it down in my front room. So that one was a lot of fun, and that's pretty much all I worked on, including my project bag making or my project bag progress, and then I will share with you plans and stitchy kindness. Okay, sorry, I keep adding one other thing to each segment here. I'm not very organized today apparently, but I didn't work on just the cross stitch pieces and project bags. I also did a lot of work on this punch needle piece. It's not the right season. It says Welcome Spring by Teresa Kogut. This is a printout from the Prim Stitcher Punch Needle magazine. I had this subscription from 2019. I don't have it currently, but I have gotten a lot of different things out of these magazines, and this one I think is available as an individual pattern if you're interested. It's turning out so cute. The carrot leaves are a little hard to see in person, but I can see them pretty well on film here. And I'm not gonna fully finish this when I'm done with it, but I had it all set up on the hoop and I had all the thread, and I thought, don't put it away, just get it finished, and then it'll be ready to finish next spring on a little easel or a book. So I really have enjoyed punch needle. This is my second piece. It is with a 3-strand CTR punch, and it's much different. I commented on my Christmas piece that the 6-strand ultra punch is really hard on my hands and on my wrist, but honestly with the 3, it's kind of the difference when you're punching. It's kind of the difference between a pickup truck with the 6-strand and a luxury vehicle with a 3-strand. It's much smoother, much pardon my silly metaphor, but it's much easier on the hands. So if you were concerned, if you have problems with carpal tunnel or something, the 3-strand CTR is not bad. It is a lot more separating out your threads and cutting them. I'm doing it in DMC, not the called for weeks. But I'd have to do it with the week's thread as well. I want to try Valdani because I like the idea, as I did with the 6-strand punch, of just going. You know, you can really knock out a design a lot faster. I think I need to even up this side over here. I have it following my trace lines, but my trace line must have been a little bit off. But I can fix that. So, as I said, it's a lot of fun to do, and I would say, almost this much of it last night during a Zoom call. So you can really feel very accomplished as opposed to some of our cross stitch pieces that take us weeks and weeks and weeks. This one can take you just days. So I'm excited to have that finished and then start on my next. I have one that has a bee and some flowers, so I'm going to be doing that soon. But I just left that off. I wanted to show you, and let me get back to my haul. Okay, this isn't just haul, this is also Stitchy Kindness. I had sent out a lot of little gifts, and you guys don't have to do this, but thank you. This was kind of a return favor from my friend Kim, whom I stitched the Birds of a Feather Sal with. She put this together from a blackbird design that she had, just some random motifs, and I think it turned out so pretty. I really love it. Thank you so much, Kim. She did a really good job. So I'll put that in my hutch downstairs now that I've shown it. And the other one came from Helen D, another friend that I had sent a gift to, and her stitching is so pretty and her finishing so nice. Thank you, Helen. And it has a bee on it, which is gonna work perfectly with my next stitching plan. I have a whole box of this kind of plans ahead, and so this is going to fit in perfectly, and I love purple. Thank you so much. So those were nice surprises and reminders that our stitching community is worth saving. It's worth hanging in there for. I also did get some fabric from Victorian Motto. This one wasn't labeled. It doesn't have a name, I don't think. No, it does. It's Antique Sampler. The last one I had before that was unlabeled, but this is Antique Sampler. And I'll be putting a fall piece on here, but I thought that was so pretty. My other piece from June is still sitting in a post office somewhere, but I'll get it. I'm sure it'll come eventually. I also got a really huge piece of Aida from a lady on Facebook. I will link it below. It was sort of strange, the process. I just kind of went on her side, and she had like an album, and I said, do you have some of this fabric, this 18 count Aida? And she said, I have ivory, do you want it? She messaged me back really promptly, and this is the hugest piece of fabric I have ever owned. So I was so excited to have it though, because I measured it out. It's going to be long enough for Jenny Bean for the parlor, which I wanted to start next year, and it's going to be big enough for Pandemic. Both pieces. I'll show a picture here of the scale of how big this is. And the best part about it, excuse me, got the hiccups. The best part about it was $6. I was like, are you kidding me? This is 18 count Aida that I'm going to over dye, and it's going to work fantastic. And it was $6. I think I paid $6 to ship it, but that's okay. And then she sent in a free piece of 18 count Aida as well. So I think it's 18. Pretty sure it's not labeled, but it looks like it. So that will be another fall piece, and I was so grateful to find that. I'd heard Priscilla and Chelsea speak of it, the Facebook group where you can get the giant cuts. She has Monaco and other linens, not as inexpensively as that, but Aida was much more affordable. So I'll link that below if you're interested. I finally got my May threads from Victorian Motto. So what I'm going to do with that too kind of goes with my haul. Guild that I'm a member of now, the Tudor Rose Guild, had a anniversary design from Beth Twist. It's a biscornu with Tudor roses on top, and it's hopefully in the mail to me soon. I was excited to get it, but Beth also generously extended a coupon code to us for the month of June, and I just got one piece. But I've always wanted to do this, maybe as a drum, but definitely just kind of picking my own colors and own skin tones on that. I've wanted to do that for my sewing room. So I thought this would be the perfect piece for just some random threads. This is a little brighter. Like I said, I don't always like the bright, but I think it'll look really cute on this piece. So I'm going to just do it with Victorian Motto. And I have a couple other sewing girls going, so I won't be starting it anytime soon, but I was really grateful to get that from Beth as a generous gift to the Guild, or a discount to the Guild. The other thing I picked up on discount, again, was from Etsy. This kind of plays into some of my pumpkin plans. They're a little bit creepy looking, but I think it is so cute. The embroidery pillows go really quickly. Another bonus for having some pillow little pin pillows in a dough bowl. These are much quicker, and this has some shading on it, and it uses some Tim Holtz like ink to paint alongside the edges there, and I think it turned out really cute. It's on half price. Last time I checked, it's called Monster Mash Stitchery Pattern by Hudson Holiday Patterns. She has several cute ones, so just $2 or $3. And oh, I also forgot, Helen also sent this trim. There's the green one I already showed you, and this teal one were from her, so I will use that. It's really cute. Appreciate having that. I won a giveaway from Jen, the calculated stitcher. I met her at Silver Needle, so it was extra special to get something from her. And it's Fresh Eggs Farm. I'm not positive I'm gonna do the whole piece, but definitely I'm gonna do the truck and the barn at some point. I have the Queen Bee Flower Farm, and I had shown the Sunflower Manor in my first video as my big first finish that I'd done, so I have such a affinity for these chalkboard fabrics, or chalkboard patterns, and I was really grateful to get that. I might do that top part first before I do the big piece, but thank you, Jen, for that. That was really sweet. And then I've already mentioned this once before. This is the Long Dog sampler that was free. It was all over social media. I'm sorry if you missed it. It is available as a pattern, but it was free for 5 days or 7 days, and I did print it off. It was like 25 pages, and it's 365 by 429, so quite a big difference from my Black House Long Dog. And I'm gonna do it in this blue, I think, on that Aida, on my terracotta wall. I think that kind of steely dark blue, I think it's called dark navy, would be so pretty. So that's, like I said, not anytime soon, but it was super generous of Long Dog Sampler to extend that to all of us. And then I got this magazine for free. Also, I encourage you, if you don't mind spam, if just from, you know, select groups, the Primitive Quilt and Project magazine. I've followed their newsletter for a while now, and I intend to get this as a subscription, but they asked me to enter some kind of sweepstakes for winning a bunch of prizes, and they would send me a free magazine, and I was like, okay. So it was no strings attached. I just entered the sweepstakes, and they sent me a whole bunch of projects in here. And as I continue to sew, I'm learning. I am not at this level yet, but I hope to take classes and continue to practice. This is a really pretty one with the bees, kind of applique. But as I, you know, continue to be brave and try new things, I hope to make some of those projects in that quilt magazine. So that was the haul and Stitchy Kindness. A lot of giveaways and free things that I had found this last month. I will try to link everything below in the description box if you're interested in any of those. If I leave any details out, just let me know, and I will finish with a few last thoughts and we'll be done. Thank you. I had a question from a viewer, and I don't believe it was on the last video, but I had not addressed it in a video yet. They asked how I was able to achieve the modeling on the Aida that I dyed, and I might make a video. I have this giant huge piece of Aida here that I'm going to make in different dye purposes, but I might try to film that. So if you're interested, if you'd like to see some fabric dyeing. And I also had a comment about the how do you over dye your over dyed floss if it doesn't work your way. I've shown pictures of that before, but I might try to film the process, and it's a work in progress. The dyeing is not super consistent for me, and you know, some batches turn out great and some don't. I usually just use it for fabric that wasn't really expensive, or for threads that I would not use anyway, so it's not like I'm out if it ruins. The scorch marks on that thread I did not see in the last video as much as they ended up showing up, so I'm not sure that I would recommend the way I did it, but I have had more success if I take a little more time with it, so I can show you that. But if you would be interested in an Aida over dyed fabric and floss video, then let me know in the description box below or in the comments. I thank you for spending time with me today. I know there's a lot of videos that you could have clicked on, but as a thank you to those that have subscribed and have stuck to the end of the video, I did have a couple of things that I wanted to give away. I had mentioned in my video, I think it was number 17, that I would be passing along the Stacy Nash Primitives, Miss Baxter's House. I love this piece. It turned out so cute, and it's a great pattern. I included some charting that I had changed. If you're interested, you wouldn't have to do that over one stitching at the bottom, but I would love to pass this along. If you are interested in Miss Baxter's House, if you'll just say, I'd like to stitch the chickens. They're my favorite part of this pattern. So that is giveaway number 1. Giveaway number 2, because I have 2,000 subscribers, and it looks like I just detached part of it. I'll have my daughter fix it because it has a little jump ring here. I have a scissor fob. Oh shoot, that's what I get for putting books on top of something, and I can't see without my glasses. But here's the fob that will be reattached to the hook here. These are the kind of scissor fobs I like because instead of a string, they have a really large clip here, and they'll fit on a lot of different kinds of scissors. But even on a back, it would be a pretty fob, and it has the little bee that I got at Joann's at the bottom. She's a little black, sparkly, and these beads were from Michael's. But Sophia made that for us as a giveaway. She's very good with jewelry, so if you would like to have the bee fob, if you would just say, I like the bee fob, then I can get that mailed off to you. I had sold a few of those for Sophia last year. If you're interested in more fobs, let me know too. She does a really good job with the choices of colors. So that is giveaway number 2. So thank you again for your continued support and your continued viewing. If you have any questions of any of the pieces I worked on or from a previous video, let me know. And I would just encourage you as we move forward. I know there's been a lot of drama and a lot of hurtful things that have happened in our stitching community over the last couple weeks. And remember that we can extend grace and try to be patient with people for different feelings and experiences they've had. My son was reminding me of this yesterday when he was saying that he was becoming a brave boy. He struggles with fear and anxiety, and he always covers his head when he goes to bed at night. And I always thought it was just a quirk, that maybe he liked to be, you know, snuggled in tight, or maybe he was cold, he's really thin. So I thought maybe he just liked to be covered in tight. But he told me yesterday, he said, Mom, I'm being brave. My head is coming out now. And I said, what do you mean your head is coming out? He said, I don't have to cover my head at night anymore. I'm not as scared. And I thought, wow, that's funny that I didn't even consider that that's why he did what he did, that the reason for it was based on fear. And so a lot of the ugly things people say, or a lot of the meanness, is based on fear, and we are in a really insecure time. And so extend grace, be patient with one another. I'm speaking to myself. I'm not a perfect level by any means, as evidenced by my confusion about my son. I hadn't even thought to ask why he did something. So not that you need to know all of the reasons, but just remember to extend grace and be patient with one another. Our community is valuable. Our friendships are worth saving and preserving. So send out a card, send out a little stitched gift. You never know how it's going to impact someone, how it's going to encourage them, and just spread light and kindness. So thank you for watching again. As I like to end my videos, Psalm 90 verse 17 says, may the favor of the Lord our God be upon us and establish the work of our hands. I pray you have a great July. Thanks for watching.